This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to A Glass Blower's Companion, episode 15. How are you doing today? For starters, I am super excited for this episode because this is officially the celebration of the 5-year anniversary of this podcast. I shared it on social media the other day, and the actual day was June 8th, was when the first episode was released. And I just got to start by just want to thank anybody and everybody who has been on the show, who has sent me a message, who has commented, who has shared, left a review, anything and everything that has been involved within this show. I am very grateful and am excited for what the next 5 years is going to bring. This podcast has evolved and changed over the years, even including the name of this show. You know, now we're Glass Blower's Companion, no more Wise Guy Radio. And it's just been a wild ride. It's been fun and exciting and exhilarating and draining and time consuming, and I wouldn't take any of it back. Part of the show too, like I mentioned in the last episode, is it's interesting how this show has also been kind of a timeline in my life and what I've been going through. Just, through the last 5 years has been kind of interesting. That being said, with this being the celebration for year 5, I had to bring back Rashan Jones. Rashan came on episode 1, which was actually episode 1, 2, and 3 when I first was breaking these interviews up into more short, digestible episodes. Now they're long form. He came back for episode 100, episode 200, and this would have been episode, if I was doing my numbers still as I was before, I think this would be episode 244, 245, and not quite 300. But because we are celebrating 5 years, I had to bring Rashan on. Also had to bring Rashan on because he is a man of color, and going through right now in this climate of this country and the world in general, I definitely felt like the voice of a black man who is a glass artist, not only a pipe maker, but also just a glass artist in general, an incredible human being, a father, a husband, a great friend, a business owner, a person who has a voice in his community. I had to bring him on this show to discuss what is going on right now and his experiences as being a man of color in an industry that has been predominantly filled, in a sense, with white dudes. Women have come into this industry and have taken it by fucking the balls, literally, and have shown us that really gender doesn't really matter when it comes to glass. Your work shows for itself. Glass is colorful, and same with color. It didn't for me before all this went down. I didn't have really an understanding of racism in the industry. Where some people wouldn't buy a glass because it came from a black man, which is just fucking stupid. But that being said, it's there. It's not prevalent. It is not like a virus that's spreading throughout this industry, but it is definitely there. It's there in all little niches and nooks and crannies of just culture in general. But again, I want to bring Rashan on to talk about his perspective and what he's been going through and what he's seen and experienced and witnessed, and also to share my experiences growing up and what I've experienced in terms of racism coming from people that I grew up with or in family and that kind of stuff. But really, this was, again, just a platform for Rashan to talk. I really didn't want to have much of a voice in this, per se, even though I do. It's my show, it's my platform, etc. And with that being said, if anything we talk about on this episode upsets you, I'm good. I think it's if you're not aware of what's been going on out there, if you've been hiding under a rock, you'll understand. If you're listening to this podcast in 10 years from now, hopefully in 10 years from now when you're listening to this, at this time that you're listening to this, things are different. We're not having a pandemic. The world is a peaceful place in a sense. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen in the next decade. But that being said, it was a pleasure to have Rashan on and to talk about what's been going on. And that being said, I'm going to continue this discussion. I'm not going to just be a one-and-done thing here. I'm going to continue talking about right now because we are going into the political season. The campaign trails are getting ready to start again. I am not a supporter of Donald Trump at all as our president. So there's going to be conversations that I have and share and experiences and things that I think are my opinion. And again, this is my show. I don't like to say that in that sense that this is my podcast. I can say what the fuck it is I want to say because I am critical to myself to make sure that I am appeasing, quote unquote, as many people as possible listening to this show. That being said, this right now is a point in time where truth and honesty and things being done right, I think, are I need to be purposeful with this show, to lack of a better term. So Rashan's helping kick off this conversation on here, and I hope if you do enjoy this conversation that please share this podcast episode with your friends and family through social media, through whatever means you have, because this has to be a conversation between a white dude and a black dude having a positive, mutual conversation with each other without fighting, without yelling, without battling and screaming at each other. Probably because Rashan and I have very similar views in life, but I don't have his upbringing and perspectives of what he grew up with. So, again, I had to do this episode. I hope you do enjoy this episode with Rashan, and definitely appreciate you listening and for supporting this show for the last 5 years. That being said, with the support, just don't forget that Mountain Glass right now, as they are a supporter and sponsor of this podcast, they are, because of the quarantine situation, they're still just doing weekly sales. If you want to stay on top of what Mountain Glass has going on, make sure that you are subscribed to their email. Basically, just go to mountainglass.com. If you haven't created an account yet, which you should have already because you should be buying your shit from Mountain Glass. Even though they don't have everything always, I still think that you should be supporting Mountain Glass. And if you sign up and create an account, you can then opt in to receive their weekly newsletter, which you'll get the updates on sales and stuff. You can also follow Mountain Glass on the social media feeds on Instagram. Just go and follow Mountain Glass. You can also follow this podcast, Wise Guy Media. I am also putting their sales up into my story, and their whatever they put up, in a sense, I share for them. You can also go to wiseguymedia.com. On the homepage, I have a little banner that shows what the sales are, and you can just click the banner. It'll take you right to their website. So whichever is easier for you. Either way, I hope you support Mountain Glass because they are kicking ass and keeping open during this crazy times we're having. They still do not have same-day shipping, and they also do not have walk-ins available in the warehouse until further notice. So again, if you're listening to this in 10 years, that probably won't matter anymore. Hopefully, the quote-unquote new way of life is going to go back to where we were, and hopefully a more conscious society of the way that we're doing things, but also not too worried about catching this coronavirus. So yeah, I don't know what else to really ramble about. I talk about a lot in this episode about what's been going on currently with my life, and so you'll hear about that. And Rashan does as well. And other than that, again, happy 5 years. I'll play some kind of air horn, DJ horn or something in the background. But again, thank you so much. I am full of gratitude for every listen, download, share, post, like, everything. And that being said, if you have not yet liked or commented or left a review for this podcast through iTunes, as far as I know, it's one of the only podcast platforms where you can do that, but it does help out this show within the algorithms and stuff to get the show exposed to more people. You can just go to iTunes. There's a way you can leave a review. If you search Wise Guy Radio, or if you search A Glassblower's Companion in your little search bar under your podcast app, the Apple Podcast app, you'll be able to go to my main page, and I believe that's where you can actually leave the review at. It's kind of weird how the app works, but you're smart. You'll be able to figure this out, I'm sure. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode number 15 with Mr. Rashan Jones. Makes his fourth time being on the show, so he is now tied with Chris Piazza as being a four-time return guest. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll talk to you on the next episode. Take it easy. Love you so much. Bye-bye. Rashan Jones, welcome back to the show, dude.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, man. I'm happy to be back, man. What episode are we on right now? Just keep me track.
So technically, if I was still doing Wise Guy Radio, quote unquote, with my hands doing air quotes, I think this would be 243.
Okay, cool.
So, but it's officially starting the fifth season celebrating 5 years of this podcast.
Man, I literally still okay. First of all, 5 years.
Yeah,
All right, because seriously, like if you just had asked me, I'd be like, yeah, man, we sat down like a year ago. I think it's like, okay, it's been 5 years. Man, one, congratulations on all your success. Because I know this is a tester idea that you were just kind of into, and to have kept it going this long and been this valuable resource is huge. Man, your show creeps up on me in different ways. Cause like, like we don't talk every day, man. And then like I'll just be on Instagram or just usually someone's sending me a message or something from like Torch Talk or something like that, man. And they'll be like, oh yeah, man, I was just listening to episode 200, da, 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 and it was great. And I was like, man, that's dope that people listen. That's cool.
yes, it's wild, dude. Because like I won't post for a while, and I'll have like all these downloads, which is I love to see because people are still listening. It's the motivation for me to keep doing the show. It comes down to it.
Yeah, man. Well, it means when you're not around, man, people miss it and they're searching for it. So that's a true sign. So that's what's up.
Yeah, and then me being a father and also like being born with this guilt complex, like from like birth coming out of the canal kind of thing. It just that's part of the motivation too is guilt.
Yeah. That'll do it. That's a strong motivator.
Yeah, totally. I'd say so.
That's a strong motivator, man.
Yeah, man. So so you were on episode 100, episode 200 you came back, and because of my schedule and the way life has been, 300 episodes is still a bit ways away, but we'll get there eventually.
Oh man, listen. Again, as always, man, I'm just happy to be on board. Like I said, I think it's a valuable resource. It started out as just like kind of talking with a friend, and it's now really, like I said, man, just blossomed into something that I know that the flame working community is really listening to. So I'm happy to be here, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I could expand to all the areas that I wanted to, but then I got that full-time job and stuff that kind of gets in the way. Along with life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Man, let's see. Checking in on my side, we professionally things are going okay. High Desert Flameworks continues to be the mighty High Desert Flameworks it always has been. We have a total of 7 artists, including me. People ask me all the time how we make that work, and the trick is, and I mean this sincerely, only once in a year and a half have we all actually been in the building working at the same time, and not because we like schedule shifts, but just because everyone has their own key, everyone has their own life, and so like if we're all there, literally, I'll be like, oh guys, we got to get like beer and pizza. It's like a party, and it's happened once, so it's good, man. It's just managing the trying to help steer some other younger careers and keep my own thing rocking, man. But it's been good. It's been a really, really good season.
Yeah, it's killer, man. You got a safe place for these artists to set up shop and do their thing, which is important. It also then helps you keep the doors open too by paying the bills, when times are tough.
Yeah. Well, and like, all right. So I'm gonna say crazy things during this podcast. Like during this time, if I ever say that, if you're listening after the fact on the radio, man, or on downloading the podcast, it's because we're what is it, June 2020? So we're looking at like just coming out of the I think they call it the quarantine season, man, from the COVID virus. And so like for my team, man, it was a question of like, are we going to stay open and how are we going to handle this safely and just be responsible? And again, not working together helped. We pretty much limited it so like only 2 guys would be in the shop, and that was mostly just for everyone's safety because honestly, all of our desks are more than 6 feet away from each other. No virus is living through like a hydro or like a GTT flame.
Yep. But
just for safety and peace of mind, we went ahead and just kind of self-imposed that. We did not allow anyone in the shop, and a lot of people, they call it the quote unquote new normal. The way my shop works is we have a huge bay door, and so it's a big like 10-foot bay door, and so in theory you could just walk in, but we have a display case right there, so we have our front door right next to it. And we'll probably never open that front door again. Like there's literally like over the last 3 months, we haven't had anybody kind of new in the shop. If you wanted to pick up work, you picked it up like on the corner, that kind of thing. So like, yeah, we're going to keep that. Like no one's coming in the shop anymore. And so that's been fun, man. Just kind of finding like what the new normal is and things like that.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And I hope that eventually that this term new normal just gets the fuck out the window. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, because it makes me crazy.
Yeah.
It's making me crazy, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean by that? But
yeah, exactly.
But anyways, man, but it's but it's been great though, man. Just watching the guys kind of grow and thrive and seeing how they push through it, man. I'll be 44 this year, and the average age of the heads in my shop is 26. So like, they definitely kind of like more than look to me towards guidance. They're like, yo, is this the right decision? I'm like, right. No one will know until we make it. So let's just make it and we'll just kind of ride it out, man. But we, as a team, we've kind of put it together and kept it together. So we're good.
Hell yeah. Did you learn anything new during this pandemic time and the quarantine being downtime wise? Any new skill sets or,
Yeah. I learned because of this. I went back to learning how to be a more efficient flame worker, man. Hold on, my cat is yelling at me, man. Hold on, real quick.
That damn cat.
You can keep this in or not, but yeah. Say hi, Jason.
Hey, buddy.
1 second, man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, you're good.
Give me 1 second. Literally, there's a certain rhyme or reason to these kids shows, and if I can dial the right formula, we're good for like hours. Bro.
Yeah,
Just
totally.
gotta get the right formula.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Boom. There you go. There you go, buddy. I love you. I'm gonna talk to Jason. Thank you.
Yeah, the days of
All right, there
Teletubbies
we go,
and
we're good.
Bear in the Big Blue House and all that good stuff,
Yep.
I miss that shit. Sitting and
Yes,
just
sir. Yes, sir.
being stoned out of my
Yes,
head
sir.
and just like staring off at like some simple ass TV.
Definitely, dude. Just zoning. But all right. I'm back, man.
Yeah,
But
so being more efficient.
No, man, okay,
I agree,
so-
dude. Same with here. Same completely.
yeah, it's just because I didn't have a lot as much shop time as I wanted. So
Yeah, and I haven't had that. So what it made me do was like, this shit happened. Disney closed, and we all were kind of like now what? I was blessed by still being paid. So being that I work for a third party company, for Rebus Brothers, they were still paying us even after Disney furloughed all their employees. Their 40,000 people that that got furloughed. I was still getting paid, and being that they're a small company, they were able to qualify, from what I understand, for the small business loan. And at that point, they actually brought us all back. And so I was back to work. We did like 2 days for like the first 2 weeks, and then went back to like full time. And as of then this past week, as you know, I actually got furloughed, and the company just ran out of money. The government didn't have the second fill of the loans, and we have one shop open right now with Disney Springs being open to help maintain some kind of something, but still not enough to satisfy the payroll for the entire company. So like none of the owners are getting paid right now. Like nobody's getting paid except for those that are actually working at Disney Springs, which for me, I'm fine because I can make my own income on the side, where like the majority of the other people I work with cannot, including the glass blowers I work with, because they don't have their home studios like I do. So I've actually offered them like, hey, if you guys want to need a place to come blow some glass, if you need to make, do your thing, I got you, kind of thing. When I first started doing my thing in the shop, like I only had 1 day a week before. So I'm trying to get like everything done in 1 day. And my wife's like, dude, like chill the fuck out. You got the next 2 months of doing stuff. So I had to take like 2 weeks off, like of doing nothing. She actually got sick. She ended up catching the flu. Thank God it wasn't the fucking coronavirus, but she got tested, etc. So I like laid in bed with her for 2 weeks and just got a full reset. So when I got back in the shop, I could be more efficient as a glass artist and make my time count instead of like running around with my chicken like with my head cut off kind of deal, And it made a big difference just to be able to get in here and get past orders not caught up and get myself ahead of myself, and then like I've got inventory now for the first time in 20 years probably. It's for a specific, for a shop. However, I've got inventory, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that, as we both know, man, after years in the game, that's kind of how you have to do it. It's constant adaptation. I will say that the coronavirus or pandemic, however you want to describe it, man, has definitely had me adapting more than usual. But yeah, man, it's the same old game, man. It's just trying to adapt everything to stay on the torch and stay busy.
Yeah, you gotta evolve and adapt. And as I started talking pre-show, so during this whole time period as well, like right before the pandemic happened, my daughter introduced me to a couple podcasts I've been listening to that are more political podcasts. And like backing up to like back in the day when there was like the George Bush, Al Gore fiasco with the hanging Chads here in Florida and the whole voting thing and Ralph Nader running. That was like super political at that point in time. Up until that point in my life, I was very political. I was on the like what was going on. I was out there as an activist, and then that whole thing happened and Bush ended up winning. And I was like, fuck this shit. I'm done wasting my time and my energy, etc. And then now we got the fucking dickhead in the office, the Mr. So-called leader that we have that's running this country. And so at the same time, like my daughter's got me into these podcast episodes and listening to what these guys, the both sides of the coin, not just one-sided bullshit. Like I'm all about being overall educated in the whole scheme of things. So in my head, like forever with this podcast, I've tried to stay away from politics. But I'm at a point now where where we are in this world, I'm not going to stay away from politics. And if you're listening to this and you're offended by what we are about to talk about, then stop listening to my show, because you're not the person that this show is geared towards. The mindset, the mentality, the heart, the spirit, the soul, etc. Because, you and I are about to get into some real talk. And I'm not going to stop this conversation with this episode. Like, I want to continue this conversation with other guests that I have on this show, because it's important to have this conversation about what is going on out there in the world right now, whether it's this pandemic, the leadership in our country, the worldwide shit going on, and also with the Black Lives Matter movement that's been reignited again. And, that was kind of part of why I reached out to you, but also because of the celebration for 5 years. So, I've been excited to have you on and give you this platform, because you are, a man of color that has not always had life as an easy white boy, blonde hair, blue eyed like myself, who is privileged because I have the fact that I'm blonde hair, blue eyed white boy living in America. Even though I grew up on food stamps, poor as fuck, everything I have in my life, I have worked my ass off and cried and bled and scraped my knees to get to where I am in life. But if I was a black man doing that same shit, I may not be in the same position that I'm in because of that. You know what I'm saying? So
and man, okay, it's so crazy, and thank you for this platform, man. Just thank you for this taking time to have this kind of conversation, man.
Yeah, but real quick, this just as a caveat on this whole thing, because I am like the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy sitting here, I also feel like I don't really have a place to express my opinions necessarily, because I haven't experienced this in a sense. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? For me, it's like a man telling a woman about her rights as a woman. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted just to shut the fuck up and let you do your thing.
Well, look, and look, man. That when we first got in contact about this episode, it was right in the middle. Like, it was just after George Floyd passed, and literally when we first talked about this, like, the whole nation was literally burning. Like, a lot of the fires are out now, and people are still fighting the good fight, but like, literally things were on fire. And I talked to you. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I actually, man, as I recall, I called you back a few hours later, like, no, seriously, let's do it. Like, we can talk about glass or whatever, but I feel comfortable in your space, and I know that you and I have enough frame of reference, enough things in common that anything that we don't see eye to eye on, we can kind of hammer out. But just thank you for the opportunity to kind of speak. But I will say that, so here's how it's worked out for me, man. I got into glass because I believe in a strict meritocracy, man. I believe that hard work should yield good results and good efforts, both in your life and in the world. And I know that life isn't like that. No matter how hard you work, there's some stuff you can't push through. But glass was never like that for me. I've said on this podcast probably at least twice that the fact is, time felt that my color hindered me or gave me a boost, as it were, in this industry. Right. It was always, what could I make? What relationships could I foster and form and maintain? What orders I could put out? But more importantly, man, the first thing, what can I make? Because that's the great divider in the glass game, is like, you can talk a good game, whatever, but like, when it's you and you're torching your kiln, what's going to come out of that kiln? And of course, I'm never satisfied, because that's just the nature of the work. But I'm really happy about where I'm at right now. And so this is the first time ever that, like, for me, honestly, the colors even come into it, like, ever, like, in 20 years. And that's what's been odd and shocking, man. And I'll be up front. I had a chance to really kind of go deep into, like, the collector side of our industry, particularly like on the pipe making side. And I did not like what I saw. It is it's rougher out there than I thought, man. And then I realized, like, wait a minute. So, like, I'm a nice guy. I'm well regarded within the industry, as it were. I'm also 6'2" and about like we'll just go ahead and call it 270 during quarantine. Usually 250. We'll call it 270, man. So, like, I'm a big dude. So, like, chances are, if you are racist, and like, you're not going to bring that shit out around me. So, like, I got to thinking, like, I guess I really don't know. Like, at first I was like, is my industry racist? Nah, it's not. But there is racism in the industry because there's people in it, and that's just the deal. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't ever once feel like, that's, like I said, man, that a single time that my color helped push me in this industry. I just generally don't believe that. I came into the industry behind one of the world's greatest flame working white dudes, Mr. Lewis Wilson, down here in Albuquerque about 20 years ago. He's met me locally and just kind of saw something inside me and was like, "Hey, I want to bring this out. I think this kid can kind of go far in this industry." And so, yeah, man, that was like my first push into the industry. And one of the bigger conversations that comes up now is a lot of times collectors and artisans will be like, "Well, there's not enough people of color in the game. There should be more brown people in the game." And I always have one quick reaction: "Oh, well, find some brown kids in your neighborhood and teach them how to blow glass." I don't know. That's what we did. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, completely.
There's like, listen, if you're sitting at home and you're thinking to yourself, like, "Huh, I don't care if you're a glass blower, a welder, a painter, a teacher, whatever you are. If you're sitting around your environment thinking like, huh, actually, I think I would benefit from more like people of color in this environment," I don't know, go find them. You know what I mean? Like, don't be passive about it. But at the same time, it's so hard for me to reverse how I feel about the meritocracy in flame working, man. And matter of fact, I'll say now publicly, I just can't do it. Like, I can't subscribe to the idea that my color matters that much within this industry, but only because if I do, it'll bring out just yet another insecurity for me to overcome while I'm on the torch, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, completely.
So
no, and I always laugh like you walk down the street and you see some nerdy motherfucker walking by you, white or black, and you have no idea who this guy is, but behind the scenes, this dude is a badass motherfucking glassblower that is making some crazy shit that would blow your mind, And so I've been in the same boat. Like, I feel like, there's race and there's discrimination, but like, the glass is colored. It's got all the colors in it, so people aren't discriminating against your glass. Unless they're just like wearing a white cone on their head all day long, like a skinhead or some KKK dude, like just like hates everybody, including we.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. And and look, and a lot of it, because of social media and things, because the industry is already so tired of social media, there's just so much. It got to be so much of the same kind of conversations over and over. Like, somebody will say Black Lives Matter, then someone will say All Lives Matter, and then 5,200 comments, and then eventually somebody will bring up Donald Trump, racism, and just everything else, man. All these conversations kind of evolve the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, man, I just, so for the first week, I was pretty much on social media when I wasn't on the torture with the baby, like trying to fight the good fight. Like, no, it's not really like that. And black people feel like this. Or, I've had friends calling me that, honestly, man, I went to a small, really affluent white high school. So I've had kids calling me that, like, kids, we're 40 now, like people I haven't seen since we were kids. And I'll be frank, at first I'm like, it's been like 26 years since I saw you at graduation and you're calling to check in. One, I hope that you made more black friends in 26 years and I'm not like still your only one.
Right.
But like mostly, man, what I've been in the habit of saying is that, like, always remember that when I'm talking, man, I'm speaking for myself, my family, my work. It's impossible for me, like, to be like the voice of like black culture. And I'm not saying that's why you have me on, man. That's not my point. I'm
totally
saying, like,
no,
because you get it, you understand. I'm just saying, like, to the layperson, it's really easy to be like, okay, cool. So Rashan said that. That's how black glassblowers feel.
Yep.
Nah, man. Like, trust me, we don't all agree on anything either. We're all talking behind the scenes. One thing about this is that it has brought me closer to, like, just some of the brown glassblowers, man. You are reaching out to each other, like, are you good? Is your family good? Like, not like, oh, what's up, strong black man? I'm trying to do like the glass Black Panthers thing. That's not the deal. More, you know what I mean? That's not. It's more just like, yo, does your family have food? Like, I know that you're in Minneapolis. Are you good? Matter of fact, while we're doing this, man, I got a buddy named Quinn Duke who's he's from Minneapolis, living in Wisconsin now, trying to get a studio up, and we've been flirting with the idea of him coming down. And then about 2 weeks ago, when things were really crazy in Minneapolis, I knew that he needed to get out, and I'm like, bro, book a ticket, get the fuck down here. We'll put you up. We'll throw you in the studio. You can smash with me and my guys. I know that you don't have a lot of experience, but like, let's do it. And so I don't know, man, like on my side, and this wasn't like to placate my own feelings, but it's like, what can I do? Everyone's looking for like something to do. I'm like, cool. Well, let me find a 26-year-old a wayward glassblower from Minneapolis to see if I can bring him down.
Right.
And that worked out well for us, man. That was kind of what we did, as it were. Like, when people are like, what are we going to do? We just invested time in people.
Yeah.
And that's worked out. I'll say this. I was able to find out who a lot of my friends are, as it were, in the industry. And I don't just mean like friends of people of color. I mean like my direct friends. My lineage in the glass game is interesting because I've always been into home decor, beads, wearables, things like that. And not because I hate pipes, I enjoy pipes. They make me very happy and make me bread. It's just when after my first son's mother passed, it was just me and him, and so that was actually the same summer as Pipe Dreams. And there's no way that I was going to go to jail being my son's only parent. And I'm sitting here watching the news, like, man, they're literally busting glass blowers everywhere. I need to be making something else. And that's when I met Lewis, and he really kind of pushed me into a different scene. But ironically, I'd find myself down in Tucson, Arizona, doing a lot of shows. And back then, this was like, I don't know, like early 2000s. We'll say like 05, 06, 07, 08. The guys I'm doing bead shows with then are like the titans in the glass industry now, like as far as pipe making. So like, I mean, what you know about like an 8-foot table or like a 16-foot table stretch where it's like Eli and Josh Mazet, and then Marcel, and then Andrew Brown and Brian Kitson. And they brought Paul Steffen and Devin down, Micro and Captain Crunk. And then next thing you know, man, we're all sitting around slinging beads. You know, I'm sitting there with like Lucan and Kevin O'Grady and just a lot of like titans. And as we've all evolved differently in the game, a lot of them have gone on to be like just incredible world-renowned pipe makers. But like to me, man, they're just still the homies. So like, you know, the homies are calling in, checking for me, things like that. And yeah, man, that's what really gave me a glimpse into like how particularly like the pipe collecting side of this thing works as far as like a cultural anomaly. Because I'm watching dudes like German Slinger just say simple stuff like, hey guys, Black Lives Matter, and we're gonna go out and protest, and like hundreds of their supporters would come out like, no, and don't do that, and don't do this, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, wow, all they said was one, Black Lives Matter. Like, not like, you know, it's Michael Che is a black comedian, man, and he has a really, really good take on this where he's like, it's just Black Lives Matters, like just matters. Like what's less than matters? Like exists? Like, is it okay if Black Lives exist?
Yeah,
it's just been weird to watch, you know, it's just been weird to watch, man. And so I don't know. I've not enjoyed the last few weeks, but only because it was so eye-opening to me that like, oh shit, people do see me as like the black glass blower. And like ultimately, I'll tell you flat out, as a black man, and I am pretty politically active, man. I was not a fan of the Black Lives Matter group for the last couple years, and I kind of shied away from ever talking about it because I was not okay with some of the actions taken by some of their fringe people. Like, you know, I follow some of the different protests and things they've had over the years. And frankly, as a person, never mind being a black man, I just wasn't really happy with some of the tack they took. Mm-hmm. And so I never really got into it. And the last few weeks is what's really put me in the forefront, put it in the forefront in my mind, where I'm like, no, I have two black sons, man. Like, I'm staying up at night because my 20-year-old son insists on working security. So like here in town, we had like one kind of violent outburst during one of the protests. And my kid is working security like 4 blocks from there. So like, these are the things that were keeping me up at night. And I'm like, no, I should clarify in case people don't know, Black lives do matter. And I wasn't expecting any pushback, man. And literally just from social media, people who have been buying my beads and work for decades were like, oh no, I mean, you mean all lives matter, right? And I'm like, wait, okay. You can't actually say, like, I have 2 black sons. So when I say Black Lives Matter, this isn't like some political slogan. I mean, like, I don't, like, never mind me. I want my boys to come home safe at night. Yeah. And so once I realized that people just didn't understand that side of me, I'm like, oh, it's because I spent so long not dealing with this side of me. And so, yeah, man, I'm happy to say Black lives do matter. All lives do matter. And I don't think that's really in question for anyone that says Black Lives Matter. But before you end up with a bunch of hate mail, no. All lives do indeed matter. It's just they're openly killing black people on tape now. Like, that's the thing. And man, sorry, you can cut in or leave in whatever you'd like to, man. I'm gonna kind of go on this. You know, I grew up in like '94, and so watching the Rodney King riots, I remember being like a black kid, like, man, they are taking the billy clubs to that, brother. Well, I'm sure that's unfortunate. They're definitely gonna get fired at minimum, and then they didn't. And so I've spent 28 years watching various things happen to people of color on the news, on tape, with what I feel like were no reprisals. And the reason why this one was different was because it's easy to say when you come in halfway through, like, oh, well, he was resisting arrest, whatever. I'm not saying he was or wasn't. What I'm saying is it's easy to say that, and that becomes something that I can kind of reconcile in my mind. Whereas, like, with the George Floyd, because we have the technology now, we have the entire tape from the point of contact until his death. Like, we have every single step. So you can watch the body language. You can see whether he was resisting or not. I'm not going to get into it, man. You can watch the tape if you want and like kind of gauge his body language. I don't think he was. I think that he was just a dude. I think that he was probably a known felon and he was used to dealing with the police. And I don't think that when he woke up that morning that he thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
And so I was on social media and I saw the video come up. And, with Facebook, if I'm on my phone wrong and I hit my thumb wrong, the video will start. And so I didn't even realize what I was all the way watching. I knew that he had died and I'm just watching the video and I'm just thinking like anything else, well, they're going to cut this out. They're not going to show the whole thing. And I ended up accidentally watching the death of a black man I'd never met before. And watching that, just the life draining out of his eyes. And more importantly, man, the nonchalant way that particular officer just kind of leaned into it and stayed on his neck, literally with his hand in his pocket while he was being filmed. There was no pushback. There was no nervousness on his face. Oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. Flat out, he felt okay doing it. It's important to talk about this one in particular because in my 40 some odd years, there have been plenty of protests and civil rights issues that have come up. Never once in my 44 years on this earth have this many people worldwide been so tuned into the idea that this is wrong. Usually it's hey, this is wrong, and then something else major will happen or whatever, man. But this is staying in the media cycle, as it were, for quite some time because worldwide people are hey, man, first of all, black, white, or purple, police officers can't kill people like that. You just can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a world watching a black dude or a white dude get literally choked out by a knee on a curb at all. So if we're at a point now where we can't just agree that that's wrong, never mind Black Lives Matter, never mind White Lives Matter, never mind all lives matters. If at a core issue we can admit that that's fucking terrible, then we can go someplace.
Yeah.
But if we have to get stuck on whether or not that was a good or bad issue or what he was before that or whatever, I've heard a lot about his criminal past. I've heard a lot about his drug use. Trust me, anybody in the glass pipe game talking about that man's drug use is a hypocrite.
Yeah,
we all use drugs.
Yeah. Agreed.
we all use something to get through the day. So but yeah, man, that's why I wanted to kind of just build about today, man, was just the fact that it's such a turning point because this one is different and we have to make it different and go forward. When I see things look, I'm a real law and order guy, man, believe it or not. I absolutely refuse to raise my sons in an environment where I demonize cops or frankly white people, in case anyone's curious. If you don't know, both my kids are mixed. My older son is black, German, and Mexican. My younger son is black and Lithuanian. So I have an absolutely beautiful white wife. I got no issues with white people. And the funny thing is, ordinarily, I wouldn't even have to say that. But it's the summer of 2020, so everyone has to clarify their shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not a racist, and I'm not positive for Corona. It's
exactly.
The fuck?
Listen, I want to see both your cards. Hey,
yeah.
How do you feel about human rights? Also, have you coughed in the last 8 hours? I'm worried.
Let me check your temperature.
It's so funny. Dude, I'll be out with the guys, and it's we'll just be we'll go grab some beer or something, go to the store for the shop and somebody will cough and I'll literally be that's fine. That's marijuana based.
Yeah.
He's fine. He does not have it.
It's
fine.
a wet bong rip cough. That's it.
Exactly. But man, I think that for guys of me and your age, man, it's crazy to have to they talk about virtue signaling or or flag flying. It's weird to have to fly that flag.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that no one should get murdered by the cops. That's a stupid one. That should be the basis. We should already be there. And like I said, man, I don't demonize cops. I don't stand up for it. I don't believe in it. I think that unfortunately the whole a few bad apples analogy is really, really misplaced. Because yeah, man, this is a career where you really can't be a bad apple. Sorry.
Oh, I completely agree.
You have to be you have to be on point all the time. Sorry, or you can't have this job.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in certain areas, it's like the good old boy network, like in Florida. With our cops here. I'm not saying it's everywhere, but the good old boy network, countrywide, still exists. There definitely has to be reform change.
Yeah. Well, all right. So in my city, I don't fear cops. I hope somebody local hears this. I talk to the mayor quite a bit, man. A lot of my just local politicians. I hope I'm going to send them the link to this, but only so they can hear me say that. I'm totally fine with APD right now. Right now, we had a long history as a police force within my city of shooting people, but frankly, and this is I'll just be 100% here, man. New Mexico is about 4% black. So we did not have an issue shooting black or white people. They were just shooting a lot of people, just in general, particularly homeless people. There was there was a gentleman named Mr. Hyde who was literally probably about a couple miles away from the nearest house. Somebody saw him like up on the trail, and that somehow escalated into a homeless dude in a SWAT situation. They ended up killing that man. I say murdering. And so what happened in my city was that the Department of Justice came in and held everything down for like 3 or 4 years and gave us all kinds of new training, made sure that we were doing things correctly, made sure reestablished the body mic and body cam program to make sure it was efficient. And then they just left my city in January. And I think that they left my police force a lot better. I don't think this is a great idea for everyone because of the Department of Justice right now, but like that worked in my particular city because we don't have the same racial issues that you're going to find really anywhere else, because there's frankly not enough of any one group. Like we're pretty much like either you're Native American, Mexican, or white out here. And that's just the deal. And so I don't have a problem with our cops, but when I see things like, defund the police, I know there's a lot of miscommunication about that. It doesn't mean let people run rampant like the Wild West. It means like, hey, no, what, like, that bumper sticker they say like, what if schools had all the monies they need, but the Air Force had to have bake sales for bombers? That's really what that means.
Yeah,
it means that like they're going to pull the money out of things that they don't agree with because that's the only way to affect change. And so, I mean, I support that. I don't know, man. It's just such a weird time to even. I still trip that we're even talking about this, Jason.
Oh,
because some of this is like so common sense to me. I'm like, how is this a debate?
I know, I completely agree. And I was thinking the other day, like with this whole coronavirus and everybody having to stay home, like, say this coronavirus didn't happen and this murder of George Floyd happened still, like, I'm sure there would have been protests, but like, I wonder how crazy shit would have actually gotten, because people were just like ready to go, just get the fuck outside, much less. Some major thing like this happened, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of like was the fuel to the fire.
Absolutely. No, man. People were so like nationwide, people were already like bursting at the seams, ready to leave the house. Yeah. And so they're like, fuck, we're going to go protest.
Yeah.
We got to get out of the house. And man, I don't know, man. Like, and to kind of go into that as far as like people's reactions to it, one of the things that's coming apart during this movement is that as people are talking about things like reforming the police, and just, again, equal and civil rights, man. And again, always remember that this is just about equal rights, like just equal rights. Like not any group should be in charge for a period of time or anything. This is just equal rights. Part of why this is coming out, man, is just that, like, for whatever reason, people didn't have this catalyst before. And so now that people are out and about, yeah, man, I don't want to call them bad apples, man. There's some really terrible looters and rioters who caused a lot of property damage and destruction.
Yeah.
And what people are doing are taking the message that we could, like, hey, let's reform the police. They don't treat anyone well, particularly brown people, but they don't treat anyone well. Let's fix this. And that's somehow getting hidden behind the fact that George Floyd did some drugs and some properties and buildings got burned down. Now, it's easy for me to say that because my building did not get burned down. Now, I have really, really good friends up in Minneapolis who like are putting their kids to sleep a few blocks from all this. And frankly, they're like, this is just crazy. Like, they've got the sound of the helicopters and like, there's like you get lightning from tear gas in the air and there's gunshots. And the whole time I'm like, how unfortunate, because this literally sounds like my exact upbringing. Like, I did not grow up in the greatest neighborhoods at all. So I'm like, yeah, helicopters at night, not new to me, man. But like but that said, the property damage that occurred isn't okay, man. Like, when I first heard about some of the things going on, specifically like in Minneapolis, what I was saying was like, look, man, as far as the property damage and everything, looking at like Minneapolis in particular, never mind anywhere else, they took the precinct where the dude who murdered George Floyd and burned that hoe to the ground.
Yeah.
All for that. I'm 100% for that. I'm here for that. That makes perfect sense to me, both emotionally and as a response. Now, the Ethiopian restaurant down the street, that doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
completely.
like, so mostly I'm just, I'm mostly clarifying my point of view on things because people are listening because they're like, oh, I wonder how that works or how he feels about that. That's part of why people are listening. So I feel dumb having to clarify, but yeah, man, basically I'm like, yeah, that's not okay. That level of property damage isn't okay.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be doing that. Yet and still, we have to find a way to get through this.
Yeah.
And I don't have all the solutions, but I'll tell you that us talking like this and the conversation that kind of come out of this, I think will hopefully be helpful, man. Hopefully that's mostly why I'm here. because I could have just called you.
Yeah, dude. And I appreciate it, man. Because like for me, like again, being in my position, I'm looking at both sides of the coin, and like I don't agree with the rioting or then the looting and the violence. However, I do understand that like I heard someone say a couple of days ago, like MLK was protesting peacefully and he was murdered. So it's like, what extent,
Yes.
what's this happy medium balance? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and then you hear some of these shop
Yeah.
owners that are saying like, hey, I can replace my shop, but I can't replace someone's life. I get that. But to me, it's like when the assholes out there that are there for the rioting, those that are coming in from out of state that are like, the anarchists, quote unquote, that
Yeah.
don't give a fuck about these people's property. It gives them an excuse that it's okay for them to go in there and damage property. Like even
true.
corporations, like, I get it. Sure, you're gonna go burn this Target down. But for like the last 3 months, these people have been out of jobs. This Target's about to open and give this neighborhood that you're burning down, all these people that live here, their jobs are now gone because you burnt this fucking store down. So, it's a huge economic impact on people.
No, I definitely, I 100% agree. The interesting thing about the Target in particular, though, and this is just that, like, I don't know if you had a chance to see the message the Target CEO put out, but the gist of it was like, nah, it's cool. I get why you're upset, and don't worry, we'll build another Target. Just try and be safe.
Yeah.
Now, to see that level of corporate response, I think is new. That's brand new, and I think that social media has played a part in it, and just where we are in the world has played a part in it, because typically larger corporations like that wouldn't have had to come out and say anything. And
no, dude,
now
totally.
they're kind of put in a situation where they have to, because people want to clarify their points of view. And like, yeah, man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I feel so awful for anyone whose life has been destroyed or altered by this. And my heart goes out to them and their business. My buddy Alan he's from Florida. He's worked with me for about 18 months, and he's still learning Albuquerque. And so he came down to the studio about a week ago when we were doing our major, like a lot of our protesting and everything. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to take my tools and torch and stuff home. Like, I'm sure everything will be fine, but like, just in case, man. And I was like, you'll be fine, but I understand why you feel like that. Please, yeah, man, gather your things, get them to your home just in case. This whole thing had everyone acting so crazy and so fearful. And like, now it's coming out that like, now that we're on the other side of it to a certain extent, like, yeah, I mean, they're just some people feel like just fearful of change. And like, it's okay. Change is okay, and particularly because it's positive change for everyone. Like, no one is saying, yo, make brown people and elevate them above everyone else. Like, it didn't say only Black Lives Matter. It's just a matter of just, when I leave the house at night, man, and I'm going to my buddy's house, I'm 44. I got a great driving record, no felonies. I am as they say, quote unquote, a man amongst my community and a leader, etc. But like, when I'm going across the bridge to the west side and a cop or sheriff gets behind me, I still feel exactly the same way I used to when I was like 16. And like, I don't even live in a city where they're known for killing Black people, but it's stressful. But like, I'd like to ask you, man, like, I assume you still get nervous when cops get behind you too, though, right? Or
dude, since the first time I ever got pulled over. Hell yeah.
Right.
Like even driving through or downtown Orlando is where a lot of the protests were taking place, and I'm coming home from work, and there's like Florida Highway Patrol cars by like the dozens everywhere, and I'm like, I just hear the sound of the siren gives me a mild anxiety attack, only because I've been pulled over twice, and the second time I got pulled over, I got arrested. So it's like it's just there,
So, yeah, dude. And I think that. So what I'm saying, man, is that your response to that is the same as my response to that. And I think that we could get into the historical context of it and be like, oh, well, they in the South, they used to kill Black men, et cetera, et cetera. Like, look, I live where I live on purpose. My grandfather was from Muleshoe, Texas. My grandmother was from North Carolina. They met when my grandfather was in the military. So when he got out in the 40s, there was like a rumor kind of going through like the Black enlisted men, like, hey, man, go out west, like go west, young man. And they didn't want to go back to Texas, and they didn't want to go back to North Carolina because, again, this is the 40s. Not a great time for Black people in either of those places. So my grandparents moved out here to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and bought their first piece of property. My grandfather was like one of the first like 10 or 15 Black men to own property in New Mexico. And so, yeah, now my studio is right around the corner from that. So I'm able to kind of capture that feeling, as it were. Mm-hmm. And then like I look, and that's just on one side of the family. Then on my dad's side of the family lives in Paris, Texas. And my dad is one of three brothers. So my grandfather had four sons, and they were literally lynching Black men in Paris, Texas. So he moved the family to El Paso. I say that to say this. I'm really happy, again, about where I live, and I'm literally never going to move. Like, I was never going to move. I was probably never going to move anyway. And now the way the world is working, now I'm really never going to. And
Sure.
I advise everyone that if you're not happy where you live and you're that scared, I mean, you can come out here. It's nice. It's hot. But, come out here. We're all right.
Well, so on that same note, then, so I mean, this is kind of off topic, but not really. Like, so then,
go.
like I hear stories of black men that leave, the quote unquote the ghetto, and that ghetto term is actually something I'm trying to like get out of my vernacular completely. Just like I understand, there's low income, high income, mid income. It's just is what it is.
Yeah.
But like
man. Well, that's an age thing too, because I think because you and I are around the same age, I know exactly what you mean. But like clarifying for everyone else younger, like, yeah, man, like when Jason says ghetto, he's not being disparaging to black people, white people, poor people, brown people, or anything. Just no, factually, it was literally called the ghetto, and that's just where that's just the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But go ahead, man. But
you hear but you hear stories of like black men that get and women that get out of the quote unquote ghetto, and they have success for themselves, and then they're like hated by their people from where they came from. Like, remember where you came from kind of shit, and they'll go back home and then they're basically made fun of and talk shit to and everything else because they had some kind of success. I mean, do you obviously where you're living, you're not going to see that, but
totally a thing. That is definitely a thing.
So it's just interesting to me, like there's like I was talking to my wife the other day, and she's been very passionate about this whole thing, and I've been very passionate about it too, but on a different side of this whole thing. So her and I kind of got into a couple different battles in a sense on our perspectives, because to me the human nature, and not even human nature, but just like animalistic nature, whether you're a human being or a fucking squirrel, there's like discrimination and racism across all species of everything that exists out there in the world. We just happen to be at a point to where we can actually verbalize things, create weapons that kill people. Sure, animals can fight and etc. But like we're a war style.
Not like we can.
Right, yeah.
Not like we can.
Yeah, like we're genetically created to like fight and survive and battle and whatever against whoever it is, You had the Homo sapiens and you had the Neanderthals, and the Homo sapiens ended up winning because they helped kill off the Neanderthals, according to science in a sense,
Yep.
I could be completely wrong, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
but I'm with you though. I'm following the point. I'm with you.
So like in my head, like I grew so kind of with my past, like my dad's side of the family, my grandmother was from South Alabama. And my grandfather was from Ohio, and coming down, like when I grew up as a kid, my grandparents had a black lady who was like the maid of the house, and she was a sweet lady, but they called her the colored lady, or the Negro woman, and they didn't mean anything racist by it at all. It was just the times and what they grew up in. My grandparents were not racist at all, as far as I know, but it always bothered me even as a child hearing them use those terms. Even hearing the word Negro, being someone saying black in Spanish bothers me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a sensitivity that I have. So
no, and that makes sense though. Again, because the era you were raised in, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm in Central Florida, which is like it's got everybody in the whole. Like I've been told I was a Southern Yankee by some guy up in North Carolina wearing a pair of overalls playing his banjo one day because I live in Florida, so I'm a Southern Yankee kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, but then growing up in high school, the guys that I hung out with, their families were racist. Like I heard the N-word dropped all the time. It was just part of their vocabulary, which then became a part of my vocabulary because of my indoctrination in a sense, and to my best friends that I hung out with. They were great people outside the fact that they were racist. And it could have been their upbringing, just genetically like I'm
Hey, and I just want to
go on.
I want to pause as a black dude though, just on that point, because that's going to get lost and that'll get buried. So let me just say that.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, man. I understand what you mean and understand exactly what you're saying when you're like, no, listen. Except for the fact that they were raised racist, they were good people. Now, a lot of people are going to bury that point and not get what you mean, so I'm going to stop on it.
Yeah.
I understand that because, here's the thing: is it possible to be a good person on earth and still be racist? It's really, really hard. But yeah, man, you can be a compassionate person that cares about your family, and you've just been raised to not like people of other color. Mm-hmm. Now, once you realize that perspective is wrong, it's up to you to change it or not. But no, I just want to just pause and say, because some people are going to be like, what does that even mean? That makes sense to me. Yeah, I get that.
And a way I can just explain it is my dad and stepmom, they're Trump supporters. My mom is a Trump supporter. God bless them. I love them to death. I don't think that they're fucking right with their perspectives in life at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
However,
they're still your mom and dad, bro.
Yeah, and and outside of that, they're still great people. So, but but then my mother, and I eventually at some point in time got the quote unquote jungle fever and started dating black men. And my sister is mixed, and so I grew up in a family where my mom's parents were not very happy with the fact that she was dating a black guy. And then my mom, proud of her in a sense, and being who she was not afraid to bring him around with my family. She was like forcing the issue. They didn't like it, and it is what it is. So I kind of grew up on both sides of the influence, which has always been this internal. And I'm not at all racist. I hate everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for finishing it like that. Thank you for finishing it like that. I like that so much. I like that so much, dude. Thank you for finishing it like that.
Yeah.
Because you could have said anything after "I'm not racist," and that was the cleanest thing ever. That's the real look. Look at us bonding over the mutual hatred of most people ruining everything.
Completely, dude.
If nothing else, I want you to the takeaways I'm trying to get to are don't demonize cops, but definitely police the police. And people ruin everything, man. Black, white, purple, whatever. So I feel you.
Completely. And that's where I'm at right now. And and still though, going through my 20s and into my early 30s, that N-word would come up. And but also so would like some calling some fucking Chinese person, a gook or something stupid, some stupid ass thing that I was around as a kid, hearing somebody call somebody else this fucking name, that was completely racist.
Look, let me tell you,
it's just
growing up in the 90s, I grew up listening to 90s hip hop. There's very few things more racist than 90s hip hop. And so let me just tell you, look, man, I literally in high school and shit, we'd be like, yo, man, let's go get chinky eyed. Here, let me own my inner racism and show you where I've come from.
Yeah.
Like we used to say that shit in front of my best friend who's Korean. And at no point did this seem like a bad idea.
Yep.
Now, and the whole thing is, man, that's because I was a young person and was not cognizant of my effect on the world and the fact that words had power. And so now looking back on that, matter of fact, I'm probably going to send Steve a fucking Uber dinner tonight just because I'm talking about this because I feel like an asshole. Literally, I'm about to send this dude a pizza. But sorry, I was racist. Here's some pizza. Anyways, man. Look, I'll say this, man. I'm happy we're talking. This, it's one of those things that I feel like all the traditional old black versus white kind of arguments have all come up, man. I'm dealing a lot with why can black people say the N-word in music, but I can't say it? Let's start with this.
Yeah.
Why do you want to say it so bad?
Exactly.
What? And that's man. I have a pretty hard and fast line about this because because it's the music I was raised with. So of course I feel some kind of way, but it's yeah, man. Guess what? Lily endured 400 years of slavery and racism. They're literally killing black people on tape. Go ahead and let Snoop and the rest of the brothers just drop it and just drop the word nigga every now and then. Now, look, the standard debates. I've always had white friends who have literally asked me and to my face, hey man, if Jay-Z says it, what if I'm in my car by myself? Can I say it then? And it always comes back to the same thing for me. Why do you want to say that word so bad? And there is no answer to this. This isn't leading up to some sort of solution. This is more me just identifying one of the odd things that kind of happens in race relations, and just spinning it back to glass because it's so funny, man. I'll be in a big studio Virtue Flameworks, 20 heads, everybody's rocking. We're all listening to rap and hip hop because that's just what the studio's on, and I can tell that when I'm not there, they say all the Biggie lyrics, not just the ones that are,
yeah. I mean? Oh yeah. Totally.
And then it's hey man, one, thank y'all for pulling that because I'm here. Two, again, man, there is no solution. It's just why do you want to say that word so bad? Trust me, I grew up using the word nigga. It's really not always cracked up to me. And I'll just, in case anyone's curious how this works in the black community, my son will lose his mind, swing on me if I call him that. Whereas, I grew up calling all my friends that. So, I was at my nigga last night having a drink. So things are evolving within the black community. And sometimes that might not be apparent. And again, not being the voice for all black culture, what I'm saying, though, is that people are different. People make changes. And ultimately, yeah, man, that word doesn't have as much power in the black community as it used to. But yeah, it's still fucking insightful. You could still get knocked out over it.
Yeah, totally. Well, man, it's funny because like my buddy Todd and I, we used to always be like, "What's up, dog?" And we were making fun of the white kids, the quote unquote wiggers, just to use that racist term, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? But they were the ones walking around like they were from the ghetto and shit when they were actually living in these big mansions and down on fucking Main Street. And so we made fun of them, but that became just a part of our vernacular. It's being like, and even still today, fucking Todd and I've been friends for almost 40 years, and I'm still like, "What's up, dog?" And we give, like we're, we've been brothers for a long time. But we're also a couple of white dudes
and that's the thing, dude.
It's just fucking funny.
If I may, man, having not been there, but just knowing you though, man, I suspect a lot of that is because of like the music you're listening to, the time that you grew up, and it's not as if you were like, you know what, let's just emulate black people, so we're gonna say dog. No, it wasn't like that, man. It's just that's the vernacular you grew up with, and so. But now in 2020. When you do shit like that, all of a sudden, then you're a culture vulture and you're misappropriating black culture and this, that, and the third. I think there has to be a line drawn. There has to be a point where like people are comfortable listening to whatever music they're listening to. And if that's the influence you had, that's just the deal, man. It's not a matter of like, it's not about black or white in that moment. Now,
totally.
It may be,
right.
But it wasn't like, you're not like, I feel like being more black with my friends.
Right.
That wasn't the deal. You just use the words that you're most comfortable with, man. So like, I don't know, man. Having had a lot of white friends and white sons and a white wife, I'm really, really careful about never being apologetic to white people because I'm not the one that can let anyone off the hook. And I try to explain that to a few friends who hit me up during this. And because I have a lot of really, really like close friends, man, who definitely check for me. And I'm thankful for all of them. And it was such an awkward conversation because, they're white and shit. And so they'll call me like, hey, man, like, I just want to check in on you, but like, I know it's weird, like not like because you're black, but like, I mean, is your family okay? It's like, look, man, I get what you're saying. I understand why you called. Yes, we're good. Let's keep it moving. You know what I mean? Because these people aren't being weird or bad. They're trying to be helpful.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. It's funny too, man. Talk about the music growing up on. The two songs I've had in my head constantly these last 2 weeks, or really a month now, has been Sublime's April 26, 1992, talking about the riots and shit. And then Fuck the Police coming straight from the underground.
Yep.
Those two songs have been in my head on repeat over and over, and I'm singing to myself like, fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Like just, because that's how I feel, it's funny how it's sad, but it's also interesting and funny how, and like you and I being about the same age, I'll be 44 this year too.
Come on.
Time just always repeats itself. History repeats itself.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But you know what, man? I think that right now, this, just to kind of tie it all together, dude, I think that right now we have an opportunity via social media and by open and honest conversations like this, man, like honestly, it's going to take more heads like you and I having conversations like this in public, like openly, so then people can understand that, like, one, a black dude and a white dude can talk about hard issues without anybody cursing anybody out. Like that's step one. Two, like, we just have to do the work, man. We just all have to. And sometimes that means different things for different people. So like for you and I this morning, it means like getting together and just being open and honest about things in our past and things like that, that ordinarily, man, we've known each other for years and we've never had to have this conversation. So we hadn't had it, but like, it's important that we're having it. And so that's good.
Yeah.
I pray for the state of the glass industry. What I know for sure is that because frankly, man, because I'm black and I'm also a large, imposing physical person, I'm never going to really know how much racism is in the glass game. Mm-hmm. Like, I've had so many heads come out specifically, like, it's so funny, man. God bless the Crushmore team out of Philly, because those boys are always putting it down. They've always gone out of their way to kind of include me in various things that they're doing and things. And just, but more than that, man, like we are not professional acquaintances. Like me and Germ have worked together maybe once or twice. Me and Sling have hung out quite a bit for about a week when I was out there and like eating a lot of cheese sticks and like just philosophize. But like, I don't do like collabs with these heads. Like, that's not where I'm at. It's not what I want to be doing. It's not what, you know what I mean? Yep. So when I'm talking to Slinger, I'm not talking to him like as like a buddy who does like $1,000 rigs with him. I'm just that one dude that like comes out and hangs out at Crushmore and relaxes and just like, they gotten to know him. Me and my wife did our baby moon out there in Philly, and just, so I'm talking to these dudes. They're like, so how, just checking from like, how are you feeling? I'm leading up to like just what happened last week, man, was that, Sling and Germ really, really took a hard stand on this. And they're like, nah, man, they just started calling racists out, which was really, really, really uncomfortable for a lot of their collector base. they came out basically and they're like, listen, if you have thousands of followers on your social media platform and you don't come out with some sort of stance on this, and you're kind of doing a disservice to like yourself in the industry. And that was like their take on it, which I know on their side caused a huge rift, like in the pipe making, in the larger higher end pipe making community, because some people don't feel like they need to do that. Maybe they feel they do or whatever, but having race linked to glass was uncomfortable for a lot of people. I'm thankful for every single, just frankly, like higher end pipe making flame worker that popped up last week, but only because they do have a huge platform and they are putting forth a good message, man. So like by name, man, shout out to Sling, shout out to Germ, man, for holding it down. Look, one of the OGs in the game, like when I first came into it, man, I love Mike Fro pieces out of Cali. Yo, that dude popped up. Yesterday morning, Hops popped up. Like, listen, I'm sorry for not saying this before, et cetera, et cetera. Do I think that do I think that every high end like pipe maker needs to come out and support black people? In general, yes. But like, like yes, I think that's good. But like, I'm not mad if you're busy making like a super huge recycler and you weren't on social media, like that's not what it's for. So like what I'm saying is if people are comfortable taking that stand, don't deny that inside yourself. Take that stand because people know in their local community who their heads are. And if there's someone racist in your local community, you're trying to figure out how to address it, this is the time to do that, man. Like, don't pull any punches. Like, really make sure people know how you feel. And that's the best way to kind of just to help us solve this problem. And by us, I don't mean black people. I mean like you, me, and the rest of the sane people on earth.
Yeah, totally. But, and it kind of brings up a thought I had the other day is like, within this industry, I haven't really noticed the racism amongst black men per se, but I have really noticed a heavy racism against shop owners like that are Arabic or that are from other countries that are non-American non-American, quote unquote, even though they could be born in this country, just because they look like they're from fucking Saudi Arabia or something like that, people are discriminating against them. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you, man, and that's the other thing is that like everyone is really caught up in like right now, black and white racism within the glass industry. There's not really enough black people to be like racist. Like it's like this, man. If you were racist against black glass blowers, like if one were racist against black glass blowers, I know one of like 8 of us. Like there's like 8 of us. So it's like, let's get Rashan today, or let's go find Billy Goat. You know what I mean? So like it would be hard to do. The racism I confront at work, man. All right. So one of my really good friends is a dude named Doug Ho. Shout out to Doug Ho in the Empire Glassworks industry. Look, man. So he happens to be Chinese. He is from this country, graduated from UCLA. He owned Unicorn Beads for a long time. You're probably familiar with him, man, if not one of his companies. But either way, this dude's been in the game a long time, and we do trade shows together. Now, when we do bead shows, it's like whatever, man. Like, he sells his work. He brought me out to Atlantic City to do Champs a few years ago with him because he needed a salesman. And watching people's reaction to his work was bananas because Doug does not actually flame work. Doug owns the company, but he's employed the same like dozen flame workers down in Cali for like almost 20 years now. So like his boys are no joke. They are very, very serious. In the past, I know they've been accused of knocking things off. I'm not going to get into that just yet. But what I'm saying is Doug is from America. He happens to be Chinese. So people literally hate on him constantly at pipe shows. Like, oh, these fucking Chinese imports. And I'm like, right, those are made in LA. So like, so this is weird.
Yeah.
Alex Chang, who is a titan in the bead community, but if you only make pipes, you're not going to be familiar with him. This man literally has spent 20 years going from nothing at all to building huge. When I say huge, I mean like 100 torch studios in Thailand so that people can make beads to support their village. Like literally, this is how this man spends his time and money, is supporting other people and making beads. But like he's scared as hell to speak up on Facebook because of all the obvious racism for Asians. And his name is Alex Chang. And I remember the first time he posted in Torch Talk and people were just like dismissing him like he was just like some hating ass like importer. And the pipe game is so fucked up and racist right now that people are mad at China when everyone knows all the nicest imports are coming out of like New Delhi and Egypt anyway. Yep. So why are you even hating on China?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, it's just it's weird things like that, man, where it's like people are that's what I call like real racism, when you're just like genuinely ignorant and don't want to be any different, because like that's not what's going on. Like what they're putting forth, like they're not Chinese importers, man. Doug is a hardworking dude. I mean, yeah, look, Doug got some bread. He's worked hard for it. He's got a kid. I love that family, man. They bought one of my first chess sets. Just in general, they've gone out of their way to support my career, so I go out of my way to support theirs. And when I look at like the kind of racism that's rampant within the glass industry, it's not black and white. It's very much like other cultures being just diminished and put aside just because they are that culture.
Yep.
Like, even like just walking through like random like just malls and shops and stuff, man. Those one Egyptian perfume bottles that are like paper thin with the painted gold gilding on them? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, totally.
They're like in every like seriously, man. I don't care what anyone says. Those shits are hard to make.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my whole thing about glass being a meritocracy. Like, you could try and hate on like a random like Chinese or New Delhi or Egyptian flame worker if you want, but as a flame worker, if you can't make their shit, I probably don't even want to hear it because we're a meritocracy. So that means that there's literally like 12-year-old kids in import sweatshops who are better than most flame workers on Torch Talk.
Yeah.
Tell them I said it.
Yeah. I'll post it.
Mike, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, Mike, like, no, I'll just speak to him directly. I'm not hating on your Torch Talk group. I'm not hating on anything. I'm just saying that that's the largest body of flame workers I can think of where I just see silly shit coming out where it's like, no, you can't hate on them. Like, and if you do, you hate them because they're better than you, not because of where they live. So get it together.
Yeah, totally. And that's I say the same shit, man. Like, it's amazing what the quote unquote the quality of work that comes out of some of these places, that are importing the knockoffs and what have you. It definitely can appreciate it.
But yeah, man. But just kind of just going back to it, though, man. I'm so happy to be at a place where like not do I can just have a large voice, but that I can have a platform, and not just your show, man, but just in general, whether it be social media or whatever, man. Just because this is like the first time in my life ever. Like, dude, look, back in the days when I was like 7, 8, 9, and 10, I was one of those kids that would go to the state fair and compete and win in like the Black History Month like fact challenge. Flat out, I'll tell you now. Like, I used to do stuff like that as a kid because that's what the kind of things my parents kind of had me into back then. As a flame worker, I was just always so happy to be in this industry because I'm like literally like, yes. Even as like a welder or electrician, sometimes jobs don't want to hire you because you're black or white or whatever you are. Whereas in flame working, man, it always just seemed to me so simple. It comes down to what you can make. And what I've learned the last few weeks is that perhaps it's not that simple. Perhaps there are people who've worked with me who didn't work with me because I was black. That was their loss, man, because I'm a really talented flame worker and I'm getting better every day. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah. Plus, you're an amazing human being. So on top of it all,
look, dude, look. What a lot. I'll catch you up personally, man. A lot of people may not realize that, like, actually, what's today? Like, it's almost so on the 23rd of this month. It will be a year since I took over as president of the Sawmill Community Land Trust. It was just a volunteer position initially. I was just on the policy board, and they asked me to step up as president about a year ago. And so the other reason why I haven't been so worried glass-wise is because it's not a paid job. It's a volunteer position, but it puts me in a line to do a lot of the things that like I want to be doing locally. And so, yeah, I end up having this voice, man, where like I can speak through my nonprofit, I can speak through my glass work, I can talk to my friends on their podcasts. I have a lot of different options, but always I just stay on message, man, is that I, as a person, believe in a meritocracy whenever possible. And I, as a person, think that we should reform our police system. And I, as a person, really like other people. So, like, I've never once wanted someone, like, to fail without meeting them first. Now, if I meet you and I don't like you and we don't get along, I wish you nothing but unsuccess and terrible things befall you. But, like, but I got to meet you first to hate you. You know what I mean? I can't just, like, there's so many better reasons to not like someone than the color of their skin. There just are. There's great reasons. Like, they're an asshole or they're hard to work with or whatever. So, like, I prefer to rely on those.
Yeah, same here. I agree.
Oh, man.
Strange times.
Yo, it is, man. It is. Real quick, man, I feel like we did like, all right, work, family, quick, and let's do social issues.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? Like, I know you caught, like, if Jason mentioned it earlier, so I'll bring it up. He's on furlough right now from his job, and I know that beyond working and money, man, I know that's your life's passion, and like you've worked hard to have that position, and I know that it's not like anyone. A lot of pipe makers step up, make a pipe or make a bead or make a cup or whatever, but like doing what you do is a pressure. In my mind, is a pressure cooker, man, because I'm a demo artist myself, and so I do tons of demos, but like you have to wear specific uniforms, you have to do specific standards and things. So like, are you good? How are you doing?
Yeah, man. It's been interesting because, like I was saying earlier, just kind of taking the first 2 weeks or so off of the quarantine time of doing nothing, just laying in bed and putting on weight and baking bread and shit, you know. So it's it was
Everyone did that, dude. I
Yeah.
made a few loaves.
Yeah, dude, it's been nice. And the funny thing is, my wife's a pastry chef, so like I'm the one that's in there baking shit, and she's been in the bed being sick. You know, at least she was. So you know, so it's kind of fun. But she's been coaching me a little bit, but also super impressed that I can make this fucking stuff that I'm making. So it's been fun to show off who she married. But life's been pretty fucking good, dude. It's been really one blessing after another, and it's I always like to preach on the show, like, you get these doors that open up, and a lot of times in life, these doors are just for you. And if you're not walking through these doors, you're not going to know what the fuck's on the other side. And I'm the kind of person, like, I like running through doors. I don't even walk through them. I just run, no matter what's on the other side.
Yep.
So.
Nope.
Oh, I'm hearing some weird feedback on your side.
Hold on, can you hear me now?
I can, kind of.
Okay, cool, right on.
Are you on Bluetooth?
Here. Yeah, tell you what, I'm going to switch. Hold on real quick, Jay. I'm going to switch back so I can get you. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on real quick. Happened. I started my car. Aforementioned, for those of you who were not party to this before, me and Jason were running about a half hour late because I was taking my son to his grandparents. Then he got there and had a meltdown and didn't want to get out of the car. So now, while we're talking, I'm taking him back to his grandparents because that's what he wants to do now.
Oh, nice.
So basically, So sorry, man. I started my car, but
you're good.
But continue on. But running through doors. I'm with you.
Yeah, man. So I've been running through doors, but right when this quarantine thing started, part of my 2 weeks in bed with the wife is with the podcast, the media shit that I've been doing, the video work. I've always wanted to learn like how to do professional video work and edit and that kind of stuff. I've done shit back in the day with VHS and what have you, making movies and shit, or stuff on my phone, but not actually using like a real like PowerPoint Pro, for instance, or not PowerPoint, but fucking Adobe Premiere Pro. It's super complicated. I don't even really know. I may know like 2% of this program right now. But that being said, I spent the first 2 weeks or so putting together this video that Julie and I have been doing. We started a Disney podcast, so I've started wanting to do some Disney YouTube stuff. And so I took advantage of it, spent 2 weeks, learned some ins and outs of it. And then when I got back to work, within the first, I guess after about 3 weeks of it, our vice president, Drew, we were starting to talk about stuff. And, we're a company who's been with Disney for 52 years now. So we've got this umbrella over us of safety in a sense. Like, this unfair advantage that we have because every day we have, in just Florida, we've got 4 gates that have 30,000 plus people walking through these gates every day coming into our store to buy shit. Well, the gates closed, and they've been closed for 2 months. We have got zero revenue coming in, and they wanted to figure out a way to, outside of Disney, be able to sell and manufacture and sell non-Disney related shit. But at the same time, we have zero online presence at all. No YouTube channel. We have an Instagram. It's kind of there. Facebook's there, kind of, sort of. So Drew and I were talking about it, and I just kind of raised my hand and volunteered. I was like, hey, dude, just by chance, this last time I was off, I've been learning how to do this shit. And at the same time, I had just signed up for this masterclass on how to start a YouTube channel and be successful with it, quote unquote. So I was like, this is like serendipitous in a sense, and I will take over the responsibilities of getting this launched. So the last 2 weeks, they gave me an office with a fucking really nice Mac I've been sitting in front of, editing videos, doing video work of our artists, and putting shit up on YouTube. Which, if you're listening to this, you can go to Arribas Brothers on YouTube. Just look it up, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you.
Woohoo!
And it's
shout out to your Arribas Brothers.
Yeah, dude, and they have, and I have wanted. I've always been in my head because I'm an entrepreneur. Also, I've told them from day one that I have other skills besides just being a glassblower, and I would love to somehow have a part of this company that is not just being a glassblower. And all of a sudden, I get this position, and then Monday I would get furloughed, which is whatever. But the opportunity was there, and I wasn't going to say no to it because I know what has been going on behind the scenes. So that all being said, that is also then that last 2 weeks I did that taught me a whole bunch of more new shit on how to use this program. So now that I'm off the next month, I can do a bunch of video work in the studio and then start my own edits and do all my own shit.
Look, man, okay. So we don't talk every day, so there's no way that you can know this, man. Meanwhile, that echoes what the fuck I've been doing. I've been doing a ton of video editing, man. Part of how we made it through so calmly, frankly, was more basically that same kind of thing where we worked with a ton of schools, so a lot of our revenue, probably about 30% of my numbers last year, man, came in from school contracts. And so when COVID hit, I mean, still here in Albuquerque, they're talking like we might not actually open schools like back to regular as
Yep.
it were until like January.
Yeah.
So all my schools were like, hey man, listen, if you want to get on board, we need some digital content from you, but glass will lend itself to that. And so the city tapped me and commissioned me to do it. So we're calling it the Wonders of Glass. It's a basic look at how to blow glass, how to flame work boral, but specifically we tied it in with our local zoo animals. So we just got penguins, flamingos, giraffes, and like polar bears and elephants. And so what we agreed to do was take some footage from the zoo, make these specific animals so it has like a good local tie-in, and they passed us some bread. And so like the making of the actual figurines is like not the hard part, bro. Learning how to do the video editing has been what's been kicking my ass.
It's crazy,
So
right?
when we're done with this, I'll call you again tomorrow, man. Let's talk video editing. I don't want
Yeah.
to bore people and talk their ears off, but looks like we got more conversations to get into.
Yeah,
brother.
definitely.
Hey, we're done talking about all this racism and weird shit. We got to get back to work, so let's do that.
Yeah,
But
dude.
yeah, man, I just cheers to being able to reinvent yourself at a time when like you literally had to, and it goes back to that adaptation, man, and kind of spinning on a dime and being able to do it. You know, you do what you need to do to survive for your family and for your spirit, and that's how we make it through. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, man, believe it or not, if y'all are listening to this and it sounds like we're jumping around different topics, we're not, man. This is all just how to live and think as a flame worker, how to take a really complex process, whether it be building a recycler or looking at racism in your industry and just taking it in small bites, man. You know, I said this the other day that, you know, if you have to eat an elephant, you still start with one small bite, like even if it's an elephant.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so that's, you know, I'm like I said, man, I'm thankful for these kind of conversations. I know you feel the same, where every time we talk like this, it's like, we should really just be checking in once a week, whether we record it or not. This man knows some things. We should be getting together. So like,
yeah, agreed.
Jason, man, thank you. And I'm not necessarily trying to wrap it up. I'm more just saying like, I know you got to get this edited and get it up. I know you got a life. So like, I just want to check in, man, and just say, just in the moment, thank you, because whether it be episode 1, 100, 245, I don't care. Check for me on episode 1,000 if you're still in it, Jason. I'm with it. Let's roll. Let's get there. But mostly, man, what you do matters. And I know that consistently, man, you've given artists space to just kind of ramble and talk and be themselves and just put it out there, man. And I'm thankful to be one of those artists, and that's what you do matters, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Put a big smile on my face. I do appreciate it.
It's all good, man.
Yeah. I think kind of like you're saying, like the gist of this conversation is just learn how to be open-hearted and open-minded and how to pivot and make changes and not be afraid of change, because change is going to happen inevitably.
Yep. Oh, also, if you're a flame worker and you're listening to this and you're really mad and like kicking rocks or like sucking your teeth, or if this somehow changes how you thought or you saw me, that's your bad. You should have got to know me before you liked me, because I've always been like this. 2, man, my name is Rashan Omari Jones. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I own High Desert Flameworks. You can check for me at High Desert Flameworks or Jones Art Glass on any social media platform you choose to. If you're unhappy with anything I said, do not bother Jason with it. You bring that right to my door. You feel free to email me or at me or call me, whatever you want to do, and we can chop it up, man. I've done nothing but talk to weird racists for like 2 weeks via social media. I don't mind doing it for another week. If people like, and look, some I could reach, some I couldn't. Look, there was a dude, I'll just tell you, man, just kind of in closing, there's a gentleman that I don't even know, because I won't even mention his Instagram handle because I don't know his real name and he wouldn't tell me. He was got like 13,000 followers. I understand he's real large in Washington. And he basically broke it down to me and told me that I was wrong and ignorant as a black man because I was doing whatever the quote unquote Zionist Jews told me to do. It took me like 3 or 4 days to figure out. I was like, does he not talk to Germ too much? Because I don't even know if Germ is Zionist. Anyways, man, people say shit like that, like right to my face now. And my wife's been like, how are you taking that? And I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm here for it because I'll let that shit roll off and never talk to this person again. You're a racist in the industry and you don't like black people, you don't have to come around me. It's okay. And I won't, but if you tell me you're racist, I in turn won't come around you. So it seems like we'll all have better lives.
There you go.
More honesty. Like, and for real, man, I know it didn't get super heated, but we definitely touched on some topics today. Again, do not at Jason and yell at him or get mad at him for having me on, man. Bring it right to my door, man. Let's have conversations. Let's see if we can piece through your fucked up attitude that has you calling me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go.
And one more thing, I mean, I was kind of thinking earlier, kind of like a jokingly thought, it's like, do we need to get like all 8 of you black artists together and have like a Black Lives Matter glass show, kind of thing?
Listen, the funny thing is, I'm in my car right now with the homie Quinn. I just scooped him up from the hotel.
Nice.
So after I'm done with you, we're going to shoot to the station, or to the studio rather. Basically, man, it's like this. Like I said, I never embraced the Black Lives Matter movement because I was so unhappy with a couple fringe members of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, man, like for me, it's not even about the movement. Like I'm doing fundraisers right now, and the New Mexico Black Lives Matter group isn't even run by black people, but that's like another conversation. So like that's a whole other conversation that I'm not going to dig into. But like, when people are hitting me up like, Rashan, I want to contribute. What can I do? And so like in my city, I'm telling them, hey man, run a fundraiser, give it to the food bank or like the New Mexico ACLU or like a group like like the Justice Project, something that's genuinely going to keep people of color from being who are falsely charged with crimes, keep them out of jail, things like that. I do not contribute money directly to my local chapter of BLM, not because I do not like them, but again because there's better places for my funds to go in my city. Now, if I were in another city where BLM was a lot more active, I would feel differently. But again, I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There is no one right answer. I'm in all these Instagram group formed this last weekend where it's like 40 or 50 artists on top of each other, and they're all just trying to make noise and just go hard and make change in their community, which is awesome. I'm all for that. What I'll say is that every community is different. And that's one thing I said there. So like, hey man, you want more brown people around? Like I said, teach more brown people how to blow glass. You have a problem in your city with the police, then try and find a way to defund them. Work with your city council. If hunger is the issue in your community, because poverty is literally an issue before racism in a lot of communities, then fund your local food bank. Whatever it takes to bring up the equality level in your city, in your town, do that. Because if we all take care of our little 3-foot bubble of a small town, then there's hundreds of thousands of good towns, which lead to a bunch of good states, which leads to a bunch of really good countries. We're coming into an election season. And so I'm not going to, I purposely haven't even talked about Donald Trump because if you don't know, he's terrible. But I think that goes without saying. But let me just say it again. I believe he's terrible. Again, don't at Jason. Bring it to me if you disagree.
Oh, dude, I agree. He's a fucking douchebag buffoon.
What I will say though, like within my city, man, people are asking me, never mind, like, not like about the protests, but what can we do to make a lasting effect? All right, in my city, there's two positions that are always elected. District attorney is always elected. Sheriff is always elected. We have a great district attorney. Shout out to Raul. He's a man. But our sheriff right now is literally in this weird place where the city council 2 years ago gave him like $3.2 million and was like, yo, get body cams for all your officers. But the sheriff is like, no, we don't need those. They're cumbersome. My officers are above reproach. They shouldn't have to be held themselves to this standard. That's really how he feels. So he's on this political stance where he has the money because the city gave it to him, but they can't make him spend it. Like, they can't go to the store and pick up body mics for the officers and distribute them. Only the sheriff can do that, and he's steady not doing it. So we're going to go ahead and take this man out of office in November. Like, cool, we'll just get a better sheriff. It's things like that's what I'm doing locally, but that plan might not work in your city. You might have a great sheriff, or you might have a crooked DA. So what I tell people, man, is that whenever possible, try and be more involved. If you're going to be politically active, hate Donald Trump, but take that hatred and turn it into energy to affect your local political scene. Things like city council, things like school board, because you're worried about racist cops. The last thing we need is racist school board members who are deliberately skewing education practices for people of color, for poor kids, for anyone. It's not okay. So look at it from that point of view. Try and come at your local community and say, where are things fucked up, and add the grease there. Because what's messed up here isn't what's messed up in Minneapolis, isn't what's messed up in South Central back in like 96. This is all different, and only good people in their local communities know what they can do. And so like that's probably one of the more important things I wanted to say this morning, man, was just kind of as a takeaway was like, yeah, be active, but don't be active and just write fuck Donald Trump on your Facebook page. Really figure out like just who your city councilor is. Here's an easy question anyone can ask their chief of police. Email them from a ghost account if you're shook. But be like, hey, what chokeholds does my city allow? And if you find out that your city allows the carotid artery chokeholds, campaign against that, because there's other self-defense techniques that they can employ and other non-lethal techniques they can use to take men and women down in their custody safely that doesn't deliberately slow the blood to their brain. Like, that's the whole thing, is that the carotid artery chokeholds, like the rear naked choke and things like that, are designed to incapacitate you because they limit the amount of blood that goes to your brain. Well, these are cops, not doctors, and everyone's different, so you don't know how long a brain can survive without blood. Turns out with George Floyd, it was a little under 9 minutes. See what I mean? But you have to kill someone to find that out. So, like, these are, like, really basic things that people can do, and they're local, to try to be active and actually affect change. So, like, I mean, man, I'm happy leaving it at that, because that was probably the most important thing I wanted to say, because every community is different. So, like I say, what works in Albuquerque isn't going to work for everyone, but those are just basic steps anyone can take.
Yeah, dude, and I'm glad you're saying that, because the other day I was talking to my wife, and it was kind of jokingly, but we were talking about the same topic about the chokehold, and I'm like, honey, I've been watching wrestling since like 5th grade, and nobody has died from a fucking chokehold.
Nope. It's crazy, dude, and literally it's because it's taught in training.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Taught in training around the country that this chokehold will work, because it does work.
Yeah.
Dude, I wrestled in high school and then part of college, man. So, like, I understand blood flow and human movement a little bit on that level. And yeah, they are doing that on purpose to try to slow people down. Like, that makes sense if you're fighting for your life, but just bringing a suspect in doesn't mean you're fighting for your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's bananas is it used to be like a cop and to a perpetrator, like a cop and his partner. Now it's like 5 or 6 cops.
Yeah.
And they're all sitting there watching one dude choke another. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it's ridiculous, man. So
yeah,
dude. Hey, man. Tell you what, and this is more for you. Leave it in or leave it out. I know there were some times that the audio was garbled. I know that you'll do your thing. If we need to get back together tomorrow or the next day, or whatever, man, just keep me in the loop. Okay. And keep fighting the good fight, man. I'm really, really, really happy to be both your friend and your colleague in this industry. And just keep fighting the good fight, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for using your platform responsibly.
Yeah, likewise, dude. Like I said, it's I'm not one to like be vocal about shit. Like for this, my social media thing, I did the blackout post the other day. No, I didn't do it because it was trendy and shit. But I was doing it because I give a fuck. But
right, man, right? Because there's black people in your family and they're killing black people. You had to.
Well, I've been actually holding off until we had this conversation, because I want to post my post with this link to this episode, as part of it, as a, kind of like a backup to the conversation in a sense. So I'm looking forward to posting this and getting this out there.
Look, man, and technology is amazing. So, like, while we're talking, I've already been on Torch Talk teasing the episode and putting out on my social media teasing the episode, man. I can't wait to listen to it, because I always love listening to my voice over and over. Just kidding.
I do. So that's why I listen to it.
Man, you rock, man. You rock, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Love you so much, brother. Good to talk to you.
Love. Peace, brother.
All right, man. Later.